And so it
Jill,
begins.
Jill, how did they ever get you hooked into this, man? I thought you were smart. I thought you were smarter than this.
You
Well,
overestimated me a great deal.
we saw her interview on some Mac Voices show.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, there's another victim.
Actually, so it's your fault, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. Somehow it always comes back to that. I don't quite understand how.
Right.
Oh man. Sorry about that.
I'm still preparing anyway, so no good.
I was
All good.
rushing to get here.
Appreciate you
And
last minute.
the young lady who was trying to help me apparently is, I don't know, I think she's somewhere in the Himalayas. With no disrespect intended. It's just there's a bit of a language barrier.
Been there. What? Are you kidding
I'd
me?
love to be in somewhere in the middle of the Himalayas.
Sounds cold.
Well, I mean, it's 102 heat index, so.
Ouch.
Looks like Twitter broke the Stream Deck button.
Uh-oh.
So much for that automation. God. We love you, Elon. Not.
Let's try this.
Yeah, it's a good line. Let's try this.
I gotta copy and paste.
God, like an animal.
Yeah. It's like back in the days where we had to do social media manually.
Back in the day.
That's ugly. That's
Very
ugly.
ugly.
You know, when you had to tweet uphill both ways on a dinosaur in 6 feet of snow.
I'm afraid to ask you to elaborate on what tweet both ways means. That could go so wrong. So
Well,
Or is it Zeet now?
It might be. Or maybe if you really dunk on someone, then you X'd him out. I really X'd him.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, it's very,
Yep.
very powerful.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got the notes up. That's good. Yeah. Dave, I mean, usually the Zoom link is in the notes. Did I miss it? Or because
I sent it to you last minute. I did it. I sent it to your text message, but I got another text from your other email address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you must not have got it for some reason.
All right. Well, it may have been on the other machine too, because
that was probably
I was pacing while I was on the phone with Amazon. Said, come on, let's go.
Yeah, I was on a call and someone kept saying, well, one more thing. And I'm like, no more things. I gotta go.
Yes. You better be Steve Jobs be saying that.
Yeah.
Wait, you actually got a phone number for Amazon?
Yes, I actually found. No, I didn't. There's a place you can go that you can ask them to call you, and they called me quickly. They tried to. The automated thing tried to help me, and I just kept saying agent, and finally I got an agent. So I'm sorry, Dave. What?
No, I was asking Jill. Are you on Mastodon, Jill?
I'm not. No.
We'll get.
I don't like social media really in general. So it's lucky enough I'm on Twitter.
Not a problem.
Well, but see, now as soon as Mike gets those videos out, your public will be clamoring for you.
Oh, well, I had no idea.
I mean, that happened to Dave. It happened to Ben,
Yeah.
When?
So Ben, where were you for this conference? We didn't get a chance to meet you.
Yeah, we missed you.
I couldn't make it the 180 miles in.
Where are you? Well, maybe you don't want to say on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever.
Oh, everybody knows.
Everybody knows where he is.
I am just right on the Mississippi, Dubuque.
Nice.
Dubuque.
I like it there.
Yeah. He got out of bail. He got out of jail on bail.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. You can't cross straight lines unless it's Illinois or Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm in Wisconsin, and so I camp very frequently on the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Mastodon should have tooted.
Tooted?
Tooted.
Yeah, they didn't think that one out.
No, I didn't.
So if you leave Mastodon, are you extinct? Is that how that goes?
Yeah. That's
That
good,
was
Jill.
very good, Jill. Yes.
I like that, Jill. Very good.
I don't know.
Or Muskegon.
Oh, Mastodon. Yeah, that's good too.
Oh man.
So I take it you're not on Facebook either, Jill, right?
I am, but I didn't make a thing other than my personal one where people show me pictures of their dogs and babies. But yeah,
Got it. Then I won't put you on in it.
I'm terrible at social media.
No, I'm just. I'll have your Twitter handle in there. So that's
Yeah.
good enough.
No problem.
Just trying to get our live stream getting here with everybody. I was a little behind. Went to my massage therapist today, so right there at the end here.
Mm.
All right, we got that. We're out on social media now. Let's check how YouTube's going. If you wanted to go in the chat, Jill, I'll put the YouTube link in the chat here.
Okay.
That's the link to YouTube. And you guys are all in the show notes, I believe. Yes, you are. Close all this out. Clean up here. There you go. All right. Let me start audio hijack. It's back to normal, Chuck. I'll have to do what I did last week.
What's that, David?
Recording. Because we recorded at the lake.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. I had enough challenge just us doing it tableside there.
It sounded good.
Oh,
The episode from last week.
geez, it seems like that was like 2 years
know.
ago.
And it was like less than a week ago.
I'm living in a time warp.
Actually, yeah, it was a week from tomorrow when we recorded. All right, we're recording. I think we're good. You guys ready?
Ready.
Yep,
Always.
as ready as I'll ever be.
Opry, glad you're here. Let's bring this up. Okay, we're at episode 264. And bring my notes up here. There we go. Do one more last check. Good. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 264 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and this week we have a brand new guest. It's so exciting. Jill McKinley is here on the show for the very first time. How you doing, Jill?
I'm doing great. It is great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We met at Mac Stock. We're going to be talking a lot about that today, and can't wait to find out a little more about you, and we're going to have a great show with you. We're going to have a better show because Ben Rathick is here as well. How you doing, Ben?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing great.
We missed you at Mac Stock, buddy.
I missed me too.
Yeah, we did. But last but certainly not least, Chuck Joyner is here. I appreciate you being here. How you doing, Chuck?
Hey, I'm doing great, David. We were just saying a minute ago pre-show that it seems like a time warp because it seems like yesterday and it seems like 2 years ago, and it was only a little. I guess, yeah, we were at the Midwest Mac Barbecue.
We were
a week ago.
Yeah,
It was hard to believe. Yeah,
it was. And if anybody hasn't already listened, episode 263 was an absolute blast. We got to be in person with Brittany Smith and Chuck and Jeff and myself, and we sat lakeside and had a lot of fun. So take a listen to that as well. But we're here for a new episode. Lots of discussion this week. Got some news stories. We're going to have to kind of talk about that X, wherever that X is, and some good topics. Find about Jill a little bit, and some great topics, and then we'll wrap some discussions of what happened at MacStock here. So, but let's just dive right into the stories for this week. First story: Threads is beginning to roll out chronological following tab. Meta has started this week. They rolled out a highly requested following tab in its Threads app, allowing users to view posts from accounts they follow in reverse chronological order. The app continues to show algorithmically recommended posts under the For You tab. The addition of the following tab brings the Threads more in line with its rival Twitter and X, and it will make the app more useful for keeping track of the latest posts in real time. So Threads has a little bit of growing pains, and we knew that going in, and Zuck is pushing hard to get this thing going. It's had quite a bit of traction, but I think it's a good try, and we're going to see where it goes. Chuck, what do you think?
I think this is an obvious upgrade. It's one of those things that seemed like it should have been there from the beginning. The only thing that was equally surprising, and you could argue which one would be more surprising, was the lack of a web interface, that everything is phone based. Other than that, it's obviously a very logical progression. It's just shocking that they wouldn't have delivered this first or among the first features.
Yeah, you would hope. Jill, I don't think you're on Threads, right? Or Instagram for that matter?
No, but I read about it for sure. I'm
Okay.
not.
Did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it's a good step in general. People don't like algorithms if they feel they're being forced away from seeing their friends or people they know or things they're interested about. So obviously it's a good step. I think that Threads got rushed out so that they could get into this gap of whatever's happening with Twitter X, So
Yeah.
they tried to get out there, but this of course is what everyone wants to see, the people they follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, what do you think? You've been pretty active on Threads.
Oh yeah. I have to kind of parrot what Chuck said,
Yeah.
with the exception of, could use hashtags and integration with Meta's business tools as well. It's getting better as a personal platform, but the hashtags and the business integration, that's lacking for it to be the business platform it has the potential to be. But it's getting there, slower than some of us might hope with the ever-changing other sites, but it's going along.
Yeah, it sure is. I'm liking it. I want to get more active with it and to learn more and look to get better for sure. But we'll see how it goes. Speaking of how it goes, Elon Musk had seized the @X Twitter handle from a guy who had it for 16 years. Elon Musk rebrands Twitter to X, as we know. I don't think I have to talk too much about that because I think it's been all over the news. He booted this guy to the curb and said the X account is mine, and now the user uses a handle X 123456789986765 with little notice, and so apparently they decided that it was important to seize this account from this guy who has had control of it since 2007. It's a San Francisco man named Gene X Huang, and he had registered the handle 16 years ago. But on Tuesday, after several news outlets interviewed him about his unique account, Twitter took it over. No little notice or any compensation. He said he got an email basically saying, "We are taking it," and that's the end of it. And he tweeted with his new handle, "All's well that ends well." Boy, is this some things to come, Chuck, when it comes to Twitter? I'm sorry, X.
I don't know, David. This is one of those stories that I just feel like there's more to the story. And I don't know what NDAs might have been issued or whatever. So, and this is, I know nothing. This is pure speculation.
Yeah.
But and the one thing that I haven't seen is how active this guy was, or was he just sitting on the at X ID just for the sake of having it? So I mean, if somebody tried to take my ID out from under me, yeah, I've built something of a following, not as big as some, but that's one of the key things that ways that people connect with me. So I would be putting up. I'm not sure I would necessarily be going to the press, but I'd be putting up a bit more of a fight. And so that's where I feel like there's a piece missing to this story. That might be it, or there might be another piece. But just to have somebody snatch a handle right out from under you. In fact, I know a couple people, and I'm not going to say because I know one of them has been a target of this kind of thing. They aren't sitting on a single letter at ID, but they're sitting on an early stage single name. Like if I had gone and gotten at Chuck, it's that kind of domain that they've and they have fended off all kind of attacks. Both polite, can I buy it from you, to trying to dox them out. They're just, it's kind of amazing that somebody would care that much. So I just feel like this one, sounds like the guy was a good guy. Sounds like Twitter or Elon or X is the big bad, and there's something in between.
Yeah, what do you think, Ben?
This so far, I think, has been the downside to Elon Musk's control of the artist formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
He changed the entire brand basically without warning, taking away handles without warning, doing basically all sorts of major policy changes without warning. It's pure chaos. If you're a business, especially an advertiser who Twitter, X, whatever it wants to be called this minute, relies on for its revenue, you can't rely on this site right now.
No.
It's I mean, bravo for Elon instituting with his property what he wants to do with it, but there's a reason there are over, what is it now, 100 million signups for Threads right now.
Yeah, probably more
The
now.
site's just not reliable for any kind of business user.
Not yet. Yeah. Joe, what do you think of this? About this? Was this just? It's just there's more to the story, like Chuck says.
Yeah, I think there probably is, and it was inevitable that people would probably misinterpret X to not be Elon. And so I think there could be confusion there. I wish they would have paid him. But overall, what I think is going wrong with Twitter is not necessarily the changes, the lack of announcements. I worked all day trying to fix my Twitter account because things were going wrongly, and only to find out I was using TweetDeck version 1 and you can't anymore. So there's no announcement, and that chaos, you're right. Yeah. People are depending on this for their business and they can't while there's chaos. And I wish there was less chaos.
Yeah, no, that's how Twitter's going to be. And you're going to see more and more people abandoning it, I think. But then again, there might be more jumping on as this with this new X. So we'll see where all these things go. So I always like these feel good stories. This was a story about the iPhone 14 and its crash detection. It helped rescuers save a man after a 400-foot canyon drop. He probably would have bled out. The Apple's crash detection feature, once again, is credited with saving a life. This time it was a man in California who drove off a cliff on a Friday, and it plummeted 400 feet into an abyss. At this point, the crash detection on the man's iPhone kicked in and contacted a nearby communications center. This was reported from CBS Los Angeles. It was out in California. Of course, as the crash detection recognizes a crash, it sends a notification, lets the user confirm if they're okay or not, and then if nothing is done in 20 seconds, it'll automatically call emergency services. The LA Sheriff's Department received the call right around 10:30 p.m. on that night, and then they kicked the search and rescue teams, and they got him, and they were able to find him, get him, and this was a happy ending. It was a good story. What do you think, Jill? I mean, we've been talking a lot about this on the show, and you've been reviewing much of this, but the crash detection is this actually absolutely phenomenal on the iPhone 14.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I upgraded to the 14. I was thinking about waiting until the 15. I go driving and camping places way up north that there is nobody. And I feel that something could happen to me and no one would know, and that's why I thought this was an important update for me, so that at least if something happened, I could alert. But also I live by myself. And so if I fell down the stairs, it'd be nice to know that someone would come.
Well, you got your Apple Watch too that help you with that too.
Right. Yeah. So the whole safety line with Apple is just great. I love it. It'll keep me here forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Does the SOS always appear when you're out in your camping areas?
I've been checking it in various places, and absolutely it has gone up on particularly the one mountain that is a little bit perilous and way out in the middle of nowhere, and it goes on, and that makes me feel a lot more secure. Also goes on the airplane too, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, all depending on the interference and such. Chuck, thoughts on this? I know we've been talking about these stories all the time. I just really like these stories.
David, I think it points out the importance, though, of having an Apple Watch, and not that I'm going to go out climbing, and not that I'm likely to suffer. What was it? A 400-foot drop?
Yeah,
and that's quite a drop. But
it is.
You can easily, get your feet tangled up and fall down the steps or down the stairs or just off your front porch, and that hopefully you're not going to be seriously injured, but I've known people that took a lot less falls and had a lot more problems than this guy apparently did. And so, and we're just talking about the rescue capabilities, or I guess that's a good way to say it, of the Apple Watch. We haven't even touched on the health benefits and also the just the productivity benefits for an Apple Watch. So I'm with you. I like these. The one question I always have is, I wonder how this got into the press. Did
you wonder?
Yeah, did the injured party call? Did the paramedics say, "Hey, this is really a good thing"? Because I know what I've told this I think before, but a doctor that I'm seeing, that's one of his things. He wants you to get an Apple Watch. He and primarily for the AFib tracking is his big thing. But it monitors you all the time. It's not as sophisticated as some of the other monitors, but it gets the job done, gives you some indication that there might be an issue going on. So I just see this as just one more reason to say, hey, folks, invest in an Apple Watch, whichever one suits you for your budget and for your activities. It
looks like a rescuer actually tweeted it, and they connected with all the press in the tweet. So I think that's how it got to the press, is right, them talking about this. So that's
fine. That's fine. It just I think you have to ask these questions, but at the end of the day, it's good. It's good news. Sorry, Ben.
The tweet's right in the tweet's right in the article if anybody's curious. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, first, having worked in traditional news, it is common practice for emergency services to release when there has been an incident and a rescue. But as far as the practicality of this, I live in the Driftless region, so the prospect of falling off a 400-foot cliff is actually very real.
Yes.
I don't have the iPhone 14 right now because I wanted to kind of wait for the end of Lightning, but I will be getting the 15 the second it gets out. There's a lot of iPhone and Android phone features which are pretty much just marketing gimmicks. This is not one of them. This saves lives.
It does. It really does.
I always thought that if I had a medical emergency at night, I'd just fling myself off the bed and hope Apple called someone. I don't know if that's
Oh.
a rescue plan or not.
Yeah, I mean, with my Apple Watch 7, I actually did have to. I fell hard on the concrete once and actually
Yeah.
had to turn off the SOS.
Oh yeah, it happened to me too. I mean, I've had an unfortunate fall, and no, I'm okay. I just that's all exactly what it wants you to do. So, or if you don't do anything, it's gonna call emergency services. So,
You'll look at it this way: if at least you have a better chance of having the Apple Watch call someone than if you didn't have anything at all. So you could just
Right.
throw yourself out of bed and nothing would happen.
or call your loved one as you have it set as your emergency contact as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this was a great story. This next story, Google is now raising the price of the YouTube Premium. It's going to be $13.99 a month. The price of the individual YouTube Premium subscription is increasing by $2 for $13.99 a month in the U.S. for new and current customers. It is live for new subscribers. It can be seen at youtube.com/premium. So instead of the $11.99, it's going to be now $13.99 a month. Meanwhile, it's $18.99 if you're subscribing from the iOS YouTube app. Why are they doing that? And of course, that incorporates both the YouTube Premium and the Music Premium, and it includes that. So they are going to hike all these prices, and yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I was grandfathered in. I was paying only $9.99 a month. I had that old plan that they never raised for me. So now my bill's going to go up a little higher, but it is what it is. I think a lot of streaming services are increasing prices. Peacock's doing it, and a lot of others. But I still find value with YouTube Premium because I just can't stand those commercials. And yeah, there's ways to get around that. And then yeah, they're also fighting it, but it's still I find value in it. So what do you think, Ben?
I think for what they give you, it's a decent price.
Yeah.
A lot of people just see it as getting rid of the increasingly annoying ads on YouTube videos, but they do give you the YouTube Music.
Right.
They have added a lot of TV shows and movies that Google has not been successful at all of letting people know about.
Right.
It's a pretty good value, but it would also be nice if they had different tiers that didn't have all the extras.
Right.
If you
Some
just
people don't
wanted
want
to
music.
get rid of ads on YouTube.
Yeah, but they want to package it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Jill, do you have a YouTube Premium subscription?
I don't. I used to do the television subscription, but not the premium. But I noticed overall there are a lot of things raising their prices, and it's hitting everybody for sure.
Yeah.
And I've been very careful now because that happened with what I subscribe to now. I have cut back drastically and went through everything just because everyone has been raising their prices. So I get it. Everything costs more.
Yeah, I mean, they did it. I just became a YouTube TV subscriber, and I'm gonna talk about that a little later about the cord cutting here, our segment here. But yeah, I mean that price rose as well. So, Chuck, do you have YouTube Premium, Chuck? I don't remember if you did or not.
No, I don't. And I keep looking at it. I keep thinking about it, and just haven't gotten around to it, or at any given moment I've decided not to do it. So the one thing that I found this really an interesting time for, not just for YouTube, but all the services doing this right at the moment, right at the time that we're seeing the writer's strike, the solidarity with the actors and everything. It's like, okay, no new programming coming my way, so maybe this is not the time to do this. To do a new subscription. So this feels like just a very weird time. And I'm sure things had to be set in place to do it months ago, but you would think somebody would have grabbed the lanyard and said, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'll continue to subscribe. I mean, I'm happy with it, and it is what it is.
Yep. I will say one other thing. Google is not a party to the AMPTP as far as the writer's strike goes.
Right.
It might be exactly why they're doing it. I saw something that a lot of places are looking towards influencers and other types of media to see if they
Right.
can get programming in. And so maybe this is the time YouTube can hit it big with a lot of people watching.
Yep, for sure. Because I've already seen a lot of movies, like Ben said, that have just all of a sudden appeared, and they're free, so they're included as part of the subscription. So
Yeah. The other
go
thing
ahead.
too, I'll add this. I don't know if you all are aware, but th- apparently the unions are encouraging some creators, especially those that do quote unquote watch along podcasts,
Yeah.
or even the shows that are doing watch alongs of previous seasons or of shows that are no longer aired. That
Yeah.
they're saying in solidarity with everyone, stop creating your content, stop doing your shows. And it's like, wow, that's really interesting too. So which side of this do you land on? Do you land on it as an opportunity to help get people in to sort of pick up the slack, or do you just turn the faucet off? I don't know.
Yeah, I will say this: a lot of those podcasts are hosted by actors in the show, and under the SAG-AFTRA guidance of the strike, doing those podcasts would be considered promoting struck material.
Yep, absolutely. All right. I found this article interesting. It's for those who are programmers. There was a Python tutorial app. It was called Tinker Stellar, and it was a iPad. It was an iPad only app, but they just updated it with an iPhone version. It's written about this is a 9 to 5 Mac here. It was written about this last year about it. It was inspired by Apple's Swift Playground that helped people design things and learn Python through multiple interactive lessons. Now that what they've done is they've added a major update as well as adding new lessons, refresh interface, and then for the first time you actually could do it on your iPhone. There's an iPhone version. It was developed with the iPad in mind, but the developer now says it works with the iPhone as well. So that means users can have the same Python tutorials available or in their pockets with their iPhone. So this is cool. I mean, I like the fact that this is something that's open to anybody to learn if they want to understand programming more. I'm not much of a programmer, but this gives me inspiration to want to, hey, maybe I should check this out and do it. Swift Playgrounds is a fun little thing to play with to learning programming. What do you think, Ben, on this? Is this something you have been looking at all?
I mean, I'm not much of a programmer. One thing I will say, I just checked, the iPad version does run on the Mac as well.
Oh, there you go.
So anything that gets people into coding, especially in a way that is more accessible to them, is a good thing.
Right.
Computers are not going away, so coding is increasingly our future.
Oh, absolutely. Jill, do you do any coding? I wasn't sure if you did or not.
I did back in the day, way back. I was starting out in comp sci in college, but I haven't for a long time. But that's what I love about this particular era is there's so many ways to learn something. And I know people who only have iPhones and don't have iPads or computers, and so this is great. I think encouraging anyone to learn like this is amazing. Yeah.
And Chuck, what's your thoughts?
Echo Jill. I can't say that I have any experience with this. If I fired it up, I probably wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I'm along with you. As you got Siri talking to you.
No, actually, it's my Echo device suggesting I do gymnastics for some reason. So I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, I think anything that makes programming more accessible to those who have the inclination is terrific. And by this write-up, it looks like it's a great addition.
Yeah, it is. It is. So a couple more stories here. The Apple's My Photo Stream service is shutting down. It actually shut down yesterday as we record this. Just let everybody know. it was set to shut down on Wednesday, July 26th. We're recording this a day later. Any customers that were using that feature needed to transition to iCloud Photos before that date. If you hadn't done this away already, important that you take care of action. I just realized that this just happened yesterday. So if you didn't do it, you're kind of out of luck here. But this was a service that was launched over 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, 2011. It was a free service that allowed you to temporarily upload images up to 1,000 at any given time to iCloud, making them accessible across Apple devices and available for importing to your library on any device. And then the photos remained in the My Photo stream for 30 days. So they've really making people wanting to move over to iCloud Photo Library. So I think most people these days we're already back with this anyway. So if you didn't do it by now, you're going to kind of be in trouble as you hear this. So did you use this at all, Jill, or did you ever use iCloud Photos?
I think it must have predated my era, my joining the Apple world. Yeah. But I'm always sad when photography sites shut down in any way, because maybe the person who started that can't migrate or isn't around to migrate. And so I just hate to see photos leave, but hopefully everyone got their photos off. Or
yeah, I hope by now they did. So any thoughts on that, Ben?
First, I almost forgot this existed.
Yeah, I did too until this came out a couple weeks ago.
I quickly moved to an iCloud photo library as soon as the Photos app was introduced on the Mac.
Right. Okay.
So it hasn't been a part of my workflow for a very long time, but remembering back, it was something very useful back in the day, especially when the iPhone/iPad and Macs were using very different apps for that same use case.
Yeah, absolutely. Any thoughts, Chuck?
It's too bad. I think there's some good reasons for this. That it makes a certain amount of sense, but at the end of the day, it's just one of those services that you could argue wasn't being used maybe as much, and that again, that too is speculation, because but I can't say that I've heard anybody raise a big uproar about this. It's like, oh yeah, too bad. It would have been nice. Most people that I talked to seem to have never gotten around to setting it up or really utilizing it, and that's a very limited, weird little subset. But just the fact that there hasn't been this huge outcry from much of anybody, at least that I've seen, tells me that it just wasn't being used that much.
Yeah, it would be kind of like if Apple were to announce today they were finally shutting down Mobile Me.
Yeah. Good
example. I think for the first few weeks, I thought it was a scam. That's not what Apple's photos are called. Oh, this is a real thing.
They were.
Yeah. So RIP. Hopefully you got your photos moved over. Last story this week, more discussion about the Apple Card, and Goldman is likely stuck. American Express likely is an unlikely contender. Also, the story talks a little bit about Tim Cook was once denied when he tried to apply for the Apple Card. Found that to be really interesting. But Goldman Sachs did somehow have managed to lose money on this whole share of the Apple Card business and the business of the consumer banking. So as we've talked about in previous shows here about this, there was a good article, and this was quoted from the information. It talks about the complexities of what was changing with the banking partners would require, has some pretty good tidbits about Apple. But he had to not save the best for last. The real gem was a new piece talking about Apple CEO Tim Cook actually couldn't get through the application process for the Apple Card before it was announced, and engineers were pulling an all-nighter a few months before that launch and scrambled to find a solution to the problem that had cropped up, and then Tim Cook couldn't get approved for the Apple Card. But sure, Cook's financials are relatively strong. I would think they'd be extremely strong, but he's also a high target for a high-profile target for fraud. Ultimately, Goldman Sachs had to do that. So. Yeah, they talked about the Apple's views of the American Express as a brand with similar prestige of Goldman Sachs, but you know what? American Express or even JP Morgan Chase, another potential partner, focuses on co-branded cards, and I don't think Apple wants to do that. That was what I think what attracted Apple in the first place to Goldman Sachs, because they were new in the consumer business, and they're the only card that they were currently managing. So, what do you think about this, Chuck?
You know, I've read the article, David, and we all got a chuckle over Tim Cook being denied. It was also an interesting little insight, though, into how credit card companies may look at someone and evaluate whether they want to be associated with them in one way or another. I still question exactly why Goldman claims they lost $1 billion on this.
Yeah.
It's just I can't. With the money came in, and everyone was bragging that when they set up the savings account, $1 billion came in. And so, you know, how did this happen? And I'm assuming that the accounting is accurate, and that's the way it's not being spun, which that's a pretty big assumption right there. But yeah, this is another one of those that just, it feels like there's more to the story. And whether it's Goldman was inept at handling the volume or the service requests, or a more customer focused as opposed to commercial banking focused in part of the industry. There are a lot of variables here that it could be, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, whether Amex gets into the picture or not, and because none of us know what the contracts say between Apple and Goldman.
Go ahead, Ben.
And that is the thing here. We don't know do we know what the term limit is for this contract? We don't know what the details are of this contract. And unless there's some kind of escape clause that Goldman got into it, which it doesn't sound like there is, they would have to sell this commercial unit, and whoever the buyer is would have to abide by the same contractual limitations as Goldman Sachs, which means nobody would want to buy it if they're hemorrhaging money like this. So Goldman Sachs is, for better or worse, stuck with it unless Apple wants to buy the unit themselves.
Yep, absolutely. Jill, any thoughts?
Well, I do have an Apple Card and I really like it. And it made me think that back in the day, when I first got started, I got a Visa and immediately plunged myself into trouble with it, that it's so visible and it tries to keep you out of trouble. It made me wonder if Goldman Sachs lost money because it's so apparent when you're about to make interest charges that it helps the young or the new creditor avoid charges. And maybe that is why they didn't succeed at it, because it's trying to help the user, it's trying to help the consumer, which is not necessarily a credit card's goal. But when things are said and done, I love it. And I hope they figure something out, though. I have an Amex card too for travel, and not many places take it as much as Visa and MasterCard.
Yeah.
So,
I will add one little addendum. There's probably a reason why Goldman Sachs is the partner and not one of the traditional retail focused or consumer focused banks.
Oh, right, because they get messy very quickly. So let's anybody else has another add to that. Let's go ahead and move on to this week's topics. And I think our first topic I thought was fitting because we got to find out a little bit more about Jill McKinley. How you did that, Jill? It's been great that you were able to join us this week. And I wanted to, we'll be very brief. I just wanted to find out, you actually started in the Windows world like I did, and then kind of moved on to the Apple world. So we're very similar in our paths in our IT careers. And you made it over to the light side of the force. You're now with Apple. So briefly tell everybody what inspired you to move over to Apple products, and notably Macs, and then of course iPhones and iPads.
I mean, I've gone back to Apple all the way through DOS and Windows 3.1, and eventually was a Windows 95 support person. But I switched over had to do with, I think it's a new phase in my life, and probably also I'm doing a little bit better than I was when I had to build my own computers, for sure. But I wanted to create 2 or more podcasts, and really Mac is creativity in a box. I said, you
It
have
is.
everything you need, everything that you could possibly need. And I wanted one computer, not a desktop and a laptop and a this and a that. And when the decision came down, the Mac was the obvious choice that it could do everything I needed it to do.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
switched over. Yeah.
So then you've been in it now for on the Apple side of things is what about how long has it been?
My first one I got in 2020, that was the Mac Mini, and I didn't
Right.
use it much. Well, I bought Allison Sheridan's MacBook Pro before that, 2013. MacBook Pro I got also in 2020. And then it wasn't until I bought the MacBook where I started really using it. But yeah, so it's just been a couple of years.
You are truly a newbie when it comes to
I'm
Apple,
sure.
which is great. And we're so happy and glad that you're part of the Apple community because it's I won't ever go back. And you have an iPhone. You're enjoying your iPhone. And you said you just bought the 14, and that's great.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah, and I started with iPad. I was in charge
Okay.
of a bunch of window tablets, and I desperately wanted a tablet. And when iPad came out, but yeah, I have the iPhone 14, and probably I'll buy. I'm only missing the Apple TV now. Now I have everything except Apple TV. So
we got to get you over on the
right.
We all have everything. So, you said you do have an iPad now? Are you still using an iPad?
Yeah, I have. I just bought a brand new one. I got an 11 Pro,
Nice,
which I
same
really
I have.
like. Yeah, mine were aging, and I just decided to get something better with it, and I really like that. I've liked everything I bought from Apple, and
Absolutely.
I think I said it during my presentation at MacStock. I just feel like Windows is a tool, and Mac is trying to get out of your way so you can do whatever it is you want to do in life. And now I'm just sold, and I'll never stop.
Yeah, and then for that, the Macs just make life very easy for all of us. So,
Yeah.
well, it's good to get to know you, and I wanted to everybody, the listeners, to find a little bit more about you. So let's go ahead and we can move on for this week. And what we do is we now talk about beta. iOS 17 beta 4 was just released. I believe it was just like yesterday. As we record this, it was released to the developers. You have the iOS 17 as well as iPad OS 17. And the registered developers got in that. Ben, I know you're running beta, and what have you seen any changes? I didn't have a chance to update yet, but
not a whole lot yet. It's maybe there's a couple little things, but so far I haven't really seen much.
yeah,
Maybe
seems
just
like
a little bit faster.
Seems it's slowing a little bit, but we still got a little ways to go yet. Being near the end of July here, and we anticipate that was probably going to be out in September. So, so they also released watch OS 10 on the Apple Watch. I don't think you do that, right? Or do you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's been anything notable on the watch?
Not since the beta, or not in beta 4. I mean, other than the fact that it's now the second public beta.
Right. And we're on 4th beta and in developers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'll also give my my standard disclaimer. I am an idiot who is curious enough to do very unwise things to be kind of ahead of the information curve.
Yes. Especially on
I
the
know
production
exactly. Yes, I know what I'm risking by doing this. Do not be me.
Don't be you. I know Chuck isn't, and I don't. Jill, do you dabble in beta at all?
I do when they get to public betas. I've been kind of swamped in the last few weeks, and so I avoided just thinking about it. But as soon as that life settles down a little bit, I'm totally going to get the beta.
Sure.
Yeah.
So tvOS is out. WatchOS 10 is out. tvOS, you don't really see too much as far as any big changes. And then one article caught my eye is they did add 2 new Siri voices to British users. So you got some new voices there, and you're going to kind of start seeing a lot of that stuff when they start adding things here. But notably is the Vision Pro, and they did this week release the developer kit, but it does have some interesting terms, I must say. For you to be able to get one of these if you want to be a developer. among the terms and conditions that you must agree to is that the Vision Pro is never moved from the address that it's sent to, is never left unattended when in use. Hey, it seems to remember that time when that iPhone in a bar.
iPhone 4.
Yeah, remember that? I can never forget that. And that's fair, but here's gets more stringent here, and you have to agree to that all access to, usage of, and storage use of it will be private, secure workspace, only accessible by you and your authorized developers. So it's basically in fully closed, solid doors. You must ensure that unauthorized persons, including any family, friends, roommates, household employees, do not access, view, or handle it. And so there's a lot of pretty intense steps here that I've seen there. Is it also says if you're away from your workspace for more than 10 days, consult with your Apple point of contact on how to keep it safe while you're away. Neither you nor the authorized developers may display, demonstrate, video, photograph, or make any drawings. So they're really hardcore. So you aren't going to be seeing any photographs on social media with people testing this. That there's a major NDA.
Yeah. Also, you will be cleaning that workspace yourself because the cleaning crew isn't allowed.
Yeah, I saw that too. So I mean, yeah, it's something that developers want to get their hands on, and this is not for your lighthearted normal user. This is a developer. It's a hardcore developer that is developing applications, and you gotta stick to Apple's rules, or you'll get banned, and could even lose your developer account. So you got to be real careful with this. What is your thoughts, Ben, on this? Is this something you're seeing that Apple's doing something good to get people involved so we can start learning more about this?
Oh yeah, I can also completely understand the security measures
100%.
because this is not going to be release hardware.
No,
it's not. May not even be remotely close to release hardware. The public gets their hands on it, they're going to start doing reviews on something that is not meant for public consumption. It could give a leg up to competitors if there's industrial espionage. And, this is something that Apple's probably spent the better part of a decade developing. When they want it to be public facing, they want it to be about as close to perfect as they can get.
Yeah.
And which is why you have significantly higher security requirements than you would have the iPad inside of Mac Mini development machine there was for the Mac.
Right. And when they did the M1 transition.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when that thing came up on eBay, honestly, they really didn't care.
Yeah.
This, if Luke Miani does a nice video with this, it's going to be a little bit different outcome.
Yeah, it will be. Jim, did you have any thoughts, Chuck, about this whole thing that they've done with this app for Apple?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. And I do have a prediction. I predict that somebody is going to violate that NDA and Apple is going to come down very hard on them.
Oh yeah.
And that sounds so obvious, but what makes this really interesting is that there have been for the last number of years lots of NDAs that were sort of Apple kind of looked the other way. And so it became a thing that, oh yeah, I signed an NDA, but here's the secret unboxing. And wow, that I felt like at the time that was a dangerous precedent to set. And yet I kind of understood that Apple couldn't just say, oh, just ignore. I mean, any kind of official communication. But now they're laying all this stuff out very specifically, very hard. And I think it's going to be just interesting to see, that the precedent that has been set in the past has been, it's not a big deal. This is a big deal.
Yeah,
it is. It is huge.
Yeah, this is. You break this NDA, you're going to have Apple's legal team on your front door the next day.
Yeah,
bad.
And they have a lot of high class lawyers that are going to be after you quickly. I mean, just like when it was when they demonstrated at WWDC. those social media influencers were told you have a half hour with it and you can't take pictures, and so they're very restrictive of what they could do. It all had to be reported in their head here. And they could not have pictures to refer back to it later, other than what was publicly shown. Did you have any thoughts on this, Joe? As far as what the Vision Pro is, this something you think is going to be cool to see? I mean, it's going to be way out of most people's financial ability to be able to afford this, but.
I do have an Oculus and I like it, but when I saw this, I saw a whole other use case for it. I saw myself getting rid of monitors and televisions. I don't have the money to drop on this, but someday when the price comes down, I thought of a lot of things to use it for, and I'm excited about it. But you can remember back all the times where demonstrations were made on something that wasn't ready. The blue screen of death, I think, with Bill Gates, the red ring of death on the Xbox, and Apple has that reputation of being top notch when it comes to releasing something, and they don't want this to get a screenshot of some sort of yellow screen of death, inside of it and get it released and have people disparage it. So I understand it. Yeah,
absolutely. So we got lots of links in the show notes for a lot of great articles talking about this, as well as Apple's direct link, their news release about it. And the terms that you have to follow, but you got to be a developer, and you got to have apps that you're actively developing. You can't just be some developer and have an account and I want to sign up for this and just so I can see if I can play with it. No, you have to prove that you are indeed developing an app and you're going to take advantage of using this, not just get it and play. So definitely going to be interesting to see what we hear in the next months ahead here as far as where that goes. Let's move on to the next topics here. Once in a while, we have a little segment I call In Touch with Cord Cutting. And this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with cutting the cord. I never thought I would ever do it, ever. I've been a Comcast customer probably for 20 plus years. I kind of still am. Another house that I, as part of our family, still has it. But I count the official place where I live and I finally just decided I've had enough of Comcast, and I have AT&T fiber here at my house. So, I mean, having that amazing fiber speed with asynchronous up and down speeds is awesome. It was a good thing. So I had to make some decisions of where I was going to go as far as, TV service. I wanted to have something. And you start going to all these sites. I'll put the link in the show notes. Suppose.tv is one of them. Is a good site that lets you do some moving around with comparisons of what channels are where and why. So I came down to the two big ones, which would be YouTube TV and Hulu with live TV. Each one had its pluses and its minuses. Some had channels that it had and did not. And me being in Chicago, I wanted to, have some of the channels that are available here that I enjoy. But then I had to make a compromise. So I decided to go with YouTube TV, and I've been pretty happy with it so far. It's got a good interface, and it's working well for me. The only downfall to it, I do enjoy watching shows on History Channel and A&E, and those networks, those aren't part of that. So you would have to go to another service, or in my case, I could use the Comcast account I have elsewhere, but that's another story. But generally what would have to happen if that's what you have to do, and that's where the problem is with cord cutting, you have to go to multiple services to find the content you want. If you could live without History Channel and A&E, then you'd probably be okay with that. So there are services out there that you can go and that are have signed on with those networks. So but overall, I'm happy of the decision I made, and we'll see how it goes. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where it goes here. So, but a couple other notable stories that happened this week, and I know Ben is very happy about this, is the fact that the Chicago Cubs, and of course I'm wearing happen to be wearing my Cubs jersey, my shirt, and he's wearing his Bears jersey. So we're kind of doing a Chicago thing here. Have a new direct-to-consumer, they're the direct-to-consumer Marquee Sports Network, who's the regional sports network for the Chicago Cubs. are now going to have its own standalone service. And I think, and the reason I want to talk about that, not necessarily with Ben and I being Chicago sports fans here, is the fact that I think we're going to start seeing this trend, because there's been a lot of news about Bally has been an absolute mess with their regional sports networks across the country. And I think you're going to start seeing more and more of this types of standalone type services for anything, whether it's sports or something else. But it's great to see. And Ben, you want to just tell people real quick, what the Cubs did with this network. It's a good price, and I think it's fair.
Yep. They have Marquee Sports Network, which is a 50-50 partnership between the Chicago Cubs and Diamond Sports Group, which also it owns the Bailey Sports Networks.
Right.
Came up with a direct to consumer app option for $19.99 a month, where you have not only the live Cubs games, but you have a live 24/7 feed of the Marquee Sports Network. You have on-demand access to both the shows on the network as well as Cubs replays. And I would presume replays of other sporting events that are on the network. Right. It's honestly something I have been waiting for about 3 years. Actually, YouTube dropping Marquee, which they had for about a year during COVID, was the primary reason I went from phase 1 cord cutting to phase 2 with no longer having a live TV provider.
Yeah.
But I mean, cable is dying.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. You literally see the regional sports networks dying because Diamond Sports Group is giving the TV rights for MLB, NHL, and the NBA back to the teams because it's no longer profitable for them.
Right.
And I mean, I had since the Cubs have gone to the new regional sports network from NBC Sports Chicago, I have not been able to watch a Cubs baseball game for more or less 3 years because, Marquee hasn't, which is managed by Diamond Sports Group, hasn't been very good at making deals, especially with cord cutting live sports or live TV options.
Right. So
go ahead. Also, the Cubs have not. Yeah. Also, the Cubs haven't lost since it went live.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, I just wanted to give people kind of a gist of where that's going. I know, Chuck, you're not a big sports fan, but your thoughts. I mean, a lot of these networks are starting to do this, and where do you think this trend is going to go with, regardless of what the content is, whether it be sports or movies or any of these other channels? Where do you think this is going to go with these direct consumer type services?
Even sports is sort of the wild card. Everybody seems to be staking out a sport or a couple sports that they're trying to focus on and cut exclusive deals. I guess maybe it's not concern is not the right word, but my thinking is, though, that how much damage is this going to do if I am a real football fan, a real soccer or English football fan, depending on how you want to say it. If I am a golf fan, and so how many services am I going to have to subscribe to see what I want to see? With in the case of golf, because I can speak to that because I know it. But the British Open was just this past weekend as we record this. Augusta, the PGA, the regular tour events, which are not, take nothing away from those in comparison to the majors. Then you have the ladies, the LPGA tour. And all their events. And some of those are at least as fun to watch, if not more fun to watch, than the men's events. And so how fragmented can this become until I just throw up my hands and say, you know what, I'll go out and play rather than watch somebody. It's already happening to the NFL, and the NFL is managing it. but Sunday nights on one, Monday nights on another, Thursday nights on another. The weekends are up for grabs as to whether they're broadcast or somewhere else. I've kind of lost track, honestly, of what's going to happen this fall when the football season hits. So I think that part is really, really interesting. The fact, though, that all of these services are following the cable model and not letting you fine tune your package. They just, we've got this great package of, and I think in the case of YouTube TV, because when you were talking about it, I was cheating a little bit and looking it up.
Yeah,
but 100 channels. Oh my God, 100 channels. I don't want 100 channels. That means at any given moment for the next hour, I've got 100 choices. I don't want 100 choices. I don't need 100, and I don't want to have to pay for 100 choices. So if I sound like I'm ranting a little bit, I am. I think we all had this vision of how this was going to solve the cable problem, and instead, the players have just changed names, but they're still doing the same darn thing.
Yeah, I will say two things on this. Number one, I knew exactly how this was going to play out because you have the studios involved. This was going to go from these third-party TV providers directly to the studios. And number two, there is ironically another code of football, though not called football here in the United States, that does have it figured out, and that is Major League Soccer. I think that is going to be the way that MLB, the NBA, and the NHL eventually go. The NFL, it has itself tied up to long-term contracts that are rapidly becoming obsolete.
Right. I'm going to get Jill in here. Jill, I don't know how much TV you watch, or do you have any thoughts about this as far as where these are going?
Yeah, I have the same concerns that Chuck has, that we are emulating what happened in the networks, which is what I got rid of about 6-7 years ago, and use now an app that keeps track of my TV shows. I started with YouTube TV and I liked it, but it was overkill for the amount of television I watched. And I found out that at the price, I could subscribe to a series here and there for cheaper than the monthly fee. But when it comes to sports, I was surprised that the Cubs went out on their own, since MLB was one of the very first streaming on your phone kind of app. And so for them to let go of the baseball teams, I was really surprised by that. So I know that younger people aren't watching sports. I hear that it's not catching on. And so maybe that's part of the problem. But like football, are we going to have every night of the week looking for our sports teams and not finding them? And then the other comment is, if you live in the Driftless area, there's a team right between you and Chicago that you should maybe consider.
Gosh. Yeah, I know that team. Let's we'll close. Yeah, it's a little further north. Ben, you'll have the last say on this topic, but I'm going to get close to wrapping up here.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say. We are in a changing world, and a lot of the sports leagues move so slowly that their idea of what the world is far in the past of what it actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and as we're getting close to wrapping up here, I wanted to do a little bit of a recap of Max Stock. We just had an absolute blast. Again, we're really sad that you couldn't make it there, Ben, but I'm so glad you were able to see what we did, and you'll start seeing more things as it gets released. But we had an absolutely great time. It was so great to see all our friends. A lot of big hugs. Great to see people. We got to meet Jill for the first time, and she did she knocked it out of the park with her presentation. Remind people, what did you talk about at Max Talk?
About software adoption, technology adoption, but I used it through the analogies of sticks, which are tools that will help you do better in adopting technology. So
it was an absolutely great presentation. Chuck opened up the show on Saturday and did Great presentation. I loved your analogy with that 1950 Indianapolis the car. I don't know, what was it? There was a Formula One car of how long it took to in a pit stop. I think you did great with that.
Thank you. Yeah, the idea was that we all face a temptation to get stuck in the past because it's comfortable. And so I wanted to try to illustrate in a dramatic way, what the difference between being stuck in the past and using the old tools and using the old technology, and what you can do now with the current technology, and maybe some ideas on how not to get stuck, and some training out there that you can take advantage of, or options for training and learning. So when Mike gave me the opening spot, it's like, okay, I feel like I would like to try to set the tone a little bit for everyone else, to put people in the right mindset, and hopefully I achieved that.
I think you did. And I talked about the cloud, and then cloud computing and cloud services, and kind of broke it down between what the heck the cloud is, and then talking about all these acronyms like SaaS and IaaS and PaaS and all that other stuff, and then just got a little deep into the services we know, like iCloud, Dropbox, OneDrive, and Google Drive, and got into that. And then Dave Hamilton was great when we came in for lunch, and he was talking about Synology, and then I didn't think him and I would be in sync, and we didn't even talk about each of our presentations, and he even led into some cloud discussion that I talked about, so it kind of fit really well with that. They did a great live session, a caucus for Mac Geek Gab, which was a lot of fun to watch and see. I'm hoping that the show recorded okay, and most of you will be able to listen to their podcast, and all the current and former co-hosts who were on that show were on stage. It was a lot of fun, and we just had a lot of fun. It's such a great place to be. Great to get with everybody, and I know, Chuck, do you have any other final comments about MacStack and wrapping it up here?
Just that when you see Mike make the announcements next year, sign up right away, and also make sure that you try to book a hotel, book one of the I guess the endorsed hotels,
approved ones.
Approved. Thank you, Dave. That was the word I couldn't find. Because the idea that not only is MacStock during the day and it's terrific, but there's also the social aspects at night.
Yes.
And so the hotel lobbies and bars were at least as exciting as as what went on during the day.
I won't say what happened, but I know Jill was having a lot of fun. So
I'm still recovering.
Yeah. So
what happens at the con stays at the con.
Yeah.
Yep. It's dated MacStock, so
except when there's video.
Yeah. Hopefully there isn't any. I don't think I saw any. So, but you still can get involved with MacStock after the show. I mean, like it is in the books for 2023, but please, we have a link in the show notes here to be able to purchase a virtual pass. It's not terribly expensive, like around $97, and you'll get access to all the great talks that happened on both days. And the live stream worked out really well. I think a lot of people had some really positive comments, because those that did sign up ahead of time got to take advantage of watching it live over the live stream. And for the little venue we had it in at Stage Left down in Woodstock, Illinois, in the Woodstock Square, it turned out great. So we had little positive comments, but take a look at that. We got a link there. Like I said, myself, Brittany Smith, and Chuck, and Jeff Gammett, and Jill, and so many others that spoke. It's worth it just to be able to check that out. And please support MacStock, and hopefully we find out soon when the dates will be for next year. We'll be all waiting patiently to find out where we can start signing up here. So it's going to be a absolutely great time. I can't wait for the next time here. But with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at InTouchWithIOS, as well as Twitter. You can support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like and share and subscribe so when you are notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current shows and the live stream. We keep that out there. You get to watch what we just did tonight, as well as other shows. And then you also can listen to and see those shows as well. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to our show in your favorite podcatcher, including Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65. And Jill, it was so great to have you on the show this week. Please let everybody know where they can find you.
My website is startwithsmallsteps.com, and you can email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. That's probably the best way. And it's been a real pleasure meeting all of you and now being here.
Yeah, I'm just so thrilled to have you on the show this week. Chuck Joyner, thanks. Last minute we had Jeff Gammon couldn't make it this week, but so grateful for you to step in to help us and have a great time here today. Where can people find you?
Hey, no problem. Thank you for asking, David. MacVoices.com is where you can find everything I do, all the interesting things and people that I talk to. This whole crew right here is been on the show at one point or another, sometimes multiple times. We do Mac Voices Live Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you join us on there and contribute in the chat. And finally, on a whole bunch of social networks, you can usually find me as @ChuckJoyner. David, thanks again. Great to see everyone. Jill, great to see you and meet you this past weekend. And Ben,
Yes.
get your butt to Macstock next year.
Yes.
I will. Tell you what, if I don't come, you, Dave, and Jeff have.
I'm gonna come
my
pick you up.
permission come kidnap me.
Speaking of that, last certainly not least, thanks Ben Rathick for being here. Really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me on the X Twitter thingy, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon, Blue Sky, T2. There's probably 17 different networks I'm forgetting. At Ben Rathick. You can find my thoughts on tech and possibly other things at rathick.tech. On Tuesdays, you can find me on the Mac Voices, the voice of the Mac community with Chuck Joyner. Thursday afternoon or morning or evening, depending on your time zone, you can find me on the Big Show on the British Tech Network, and Friday morning on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network.
Great. Thanks again for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk again next time. Yay. Thank you. Great job.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Appreciate it.
Oh my.
Thanks, Jill. I see you weren't very nervous at all. It was great.
My second time on YouTube.
Yeah. And I completely forgot to plug the interview I did with John.
Oh, I thought of it too. I was going to say it.
I thought you were going to do it, Ben, so that's why I didn't bring it up. I started to, and I thought, no, I'll just let him.
And I had it in my mind too. I was going to say something. Darn it.
You literally, 3 of us had it in our mind. Nobody said anything.
I'm going to put a link in the show notes for it. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll do that. But
man.
This was great.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So this warmed you up, Jill. Now you got some podcasting flows here going. Now you've actually been on another show.
Yeah. Well, and part of it too is I'm thinking about video from time to time. I'd love to be on other podcasts or other shows. I don't know if I'm going to do a live show like other people do, but
yeah, you get used to it after a couple hundred episodes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, nice encouragement there, Ben. Good job.
There you go, Ben.
But if you ever need a spot, I could join you.
Yeah,
there you go.
After 200 punches in the face, you'll hardly even feel it.
That's right.